with another video on my NES collection. I think we last left off with Snake Rattle and Roll. Next we're going on to Solstice. This is a really cool game. There's not a lot of games like this anymore. This is an isometric platformer puzzle game with multiple rooms. The challenge is in finding out where to go in the most efficient way, how to beat the puzzles, or how to get to the next area, the next item you need. Like the first are these boots you need that let you jump higher. You get those, you know to go there, and there's these potions around. And what the potions do is they let you kill enemies on the screen, make you invincible, let you be able to jump on enemies, freeze time, stuff like that. And they're in colors of purple, green, yellow, blue. And they're limited amounts, so you get them throughout as you explore. So if you know where to get those, that helps, because there's some tricky parts in this game where it is a one-hit death. And when you get killed, you like die, and you make this really like you sound like a bird almost, like a pterodactyl. So the music in this game is outstanding. The story is you're this guy called forget his name actually, but this evil sorceress has kidnapped the princess and hidden the staff, the only thing that can kill him, in his castle. And that's what you're exploring. The Staff of Demonos. You have to get 6 pieces of the staff. That's your main goal. So you got to explore, go through the puzzle rooms, and find these 6 pieces of the staff. And once you put it together, you fight him. It's not really a fight, as it's in a kind of a... it just happens when you get all the pieces and find them. It's just like a cutscene. But getting there is the fun. I pieced this game together over a course of about a month, it took me. And I ended up beating it maybe 2 years ago, Christmas Eve. Great feeling, because each time you play it, you get a little further. And when you put that perfect playthrough together, it just happened to me, and I ended up beating it. I didn't know. It kind of ended abruptly. And the feeling of like joy and accomplishment I got from piecing that together over the month, it's something a lot of NES games have, where you overcome something and you get through it. Blaster Master had that same thing. And you overcome it, and it's very satisfying. That a lot of games I play, they're an accomplishment to beat, but when you put something together like a puzzle game like this to beat, it's you got a sense of accomplishment. So it's an isometric platformer, and there's no shadow for your jump. So you got to kind of learn by failing what to jump, like what angle to jump on. You do have control over your jump in the air. You're this little guy with a little witch hat, and the graphics are really good. They're very simple. It's like each screen is like a 3D diorama, and you got to time your jumps. You can pick up blocks and then jump off of the blocks in the air to make yourself jump farther and higher, and you have to use that in the game to prepare yourself for some of the lighter levels. The enemies are not, they're kind of pattern based in that they walk around the world, and they kind of, you can go in a room and you get hit by one immediately until you learn that they're going to be there. So a lot of this game is about memorizing. The platformers are like these, it's a platformer by heart, but it's a puzzle game by heart more so. I had to map out this game, so I still have my map. The instruction book for this is really cool. It's like a vertical kind of like instruction book. It gives you this whole big lore dump at the beginning about the game. This is actually the warranty information for it. The lore dump is, I'm sorry, not the lore dump, but they have like the legend of Castle Rock is what you're exploring. There you go. And then there's like another page of it if I remember. Nope. Just to get into the controls. This game is one of the most satisfying I've beaten. Here it is. Here's the lore of the game. And you don't have to read it. It's just in the manual. A lot of games on the NES put their stories in the manual. They didn't tell it a lot in the game because obviously there was only so much you could do. You didn't have like cutscenes, but you had cutscenes, but you had like Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, cutscenes. Kickmaster. So a lot of them put the story in the manual, which is why when you play NES games, it's a lot of it is lost if you don't read the manual, or a lot of it can be more confusing than it is, and people just write off these games as not being good. No, it's good. You just have to get the manual, read it, to understand. And a lot of people don't do that, and they miss out on something great like this game. Here's the potions I was talking about. There's the staff piece. You get like a staff piece you got to put together. When you find one, you get that little like staff. When you pick something up, it has a little graphic, which is kind of cool. It's really well drawn. There's some items you got. You got these magical boots. That's the first thing you got to get. Makes you jump higher. There's 4 keys that unlock and gated areas in the game you can't go to until you get these 4 keys, and then you can progress further. And they will either open an area or raise a platform or do something. Blocks and hovering, crystal balls. Yeah, sometimes platforms will just fall in a room and you gotta like freeze time to jump on them. Hats of life, there's extra lives strewn out. There's points where there's like quite a bit, and if you can get those when you need them, like there's like 4 or 5 in a row, it's really good, obviously. There are these bomb platforms that will lower if you can time. They're talking about those. There's portals that warp you to different areas, and spinning coins, which are like your continues. So if you can wait and get these continues, it keeps your progress up, everything you have, and when you die, you go back. So if you get one near the beginning, it might be just better for you to start over. But if you can get near the end and get a continue, then it might be worthwhile to keep, pick up from that continue. I feel like I'm explaining this game a lot because this is a very... You don't see a lot of games like this anymore. It's very European in design, I guess. But it's done well, and once you get over the isometric moving of it, it's pretty cool. There's these big spiders. Here's the goal of winning the game. To win the game, Shadax is what your name, must rescue Princess Eleanor after finding all 6 pieces of the magical staff of Demonos. Music by Tim Follin. Tim and Jeff Follin, great brothers who did great music. Jeff Follin recently died within the past 6 months or so, 3 months even. I think it was very recently. Great music on the NES. They really did a great job with the NES. And here's like the intro story of him kidnapping her, and there's you. So yeah, overall, this is a great game. I highly recommend it. If you have the time, you do have to map out to make it easier for yourself. You have to map out the world. I'll show you my map here. I did for it. I'm going to carry this for the next time I play it. It's like 3 pages of maps. You see here, I have the best I could down to this. I have a little key here. Mapping out was kind of cool. It was cool to piece this together of where to go. A bomb, you see I have notes there. This is the main part, and then I have it's like an elevator part. There's another, this is like the garden area. So you see here, 1-ups I have listed. And you have the sub-basements here. Challenging game. I will say the challenge is in getting it all, knowing where to go once you, and get the jumping. Learn this jumping. You see, beaten 12/24/2022, so 2 years ago. Wow, it doesn't seem like that long ago. God, but yeah, this game will stick with me forever. The most accomplished I felt beating an NES game for a long time. Blaster Master's up there, Robo Warrior's up there, but a lot of NES games, man, you beat them and you just feel a sense of accomplishment because they're not very long. Like, this game's not very long, but figuring out what to do and putting it all together is such an accomplishment. Not for everybody, But if you have the time, like a few weeks, to piece it together and realize you're going to fail, and that's okay, I think I highly recommend Solstice if you like puzzle platformers. Yeah, I could talk about that more, but I'll go on. StarTropics. Oh, this game. I remember when this game came out, and I think I rented it once, and that's all I've ever played it. I didn't end up beating this until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. This is a very affordable game now, so if you want it, it's a Nintendo-owned, first-party developed game that was only released in North America only, to be more towards a Western audience. They did a great job with this game. The setting is like a tropical island. You play as Mikey, this American boy from Coca-Cola Island. He's an ace pitcher. He has a yo-yo for a weapon that you can expand on. It gets, I'm thinking of the second one. You do get it upgraded throughout the world. And as you take more damage, I think the yo-yo reduces in distance and power your shot, because you'll have a projectile shot. I believe it's been a few years since I beat this last time. I beat it about 2 or 3 times, but I always had nostalgic for this game. Like a lot of NES games I played growing up, but they always stuck with me. This is one, and it's cool to go back and beat these games when you're an adult and really close that loop and really experience that, hey, these still hold up. The movement in StarTropics is a top-down, like Zelda kind of look, but it's very deliberate in the movement in that you turn right. If you hold right, first Mikey will turn right, and you hit it again and he'll move. So there's the delay in action of movement, but the levels are based around it, in that they're very grid-based, and they're very based around that movement. That being said, the enemies, sometimes if you're swarmed by enemies, it's hard to not get out of the way right away, because you got to turn then move, so it's not instantaneous. So you almost have to know where they're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, when you look forward to see where they're going to be at, like appreciate, maybe see where they're going to be at, and kind of in the future, if that makes sense. There is some parts in this game, especially near the beginning, where you jump off of a screen into another screen and you fall in water and you die, and you don't know that's going to be there other than dying, which is kind of a pain. The music in this game is great. It's a very, very good soundtrack, tropical, obviously, but some very the catchy tunes in it. Here's your main guy, Mikey. Little story, like I said, about again, the story is basically in the game here, in the manual. There's Sea Island, where you first start. Your uncle is here. He went missing. There's a lab here. Please read a letter from Dr. Jones. So I recommend this game if you like action-adventure games on the NES. It's more straightforward. It's not an RPG, but it has kind of like, you go through an area of the game. They're sectioned off into like 6 areas or something. Chapters, they're called, or something like that. And at the end of each chapter, you can find like extra life pieces and stuff. And at the end of each chapter, you go on to the next area, so you can't go back. Big hearts increase your life. So there's little secrets hidden around, so you can find the big hearts. And I think, I'm not sure if you get to the end of the level chapter and you don't find that heart, I don't know if it gives it to you or not automatically, if you missed it or not. I'm not sure. I thought it did, but it might not. But look at this, the graphics, and they just wrote this manual. They developed this just for America, never released in Japan. And these characters that you talk to are in these big sprites in the NES, like on the TV. And these are some of the people you meet in the first town. How to start the game. It has a very Zelda kind of looking menu with register name, eliminate mode. Just love how they drew these graphics. It's very Nintendo Power looking graphics. I wonder if the guy who did Nintendo Power art in Japan did this. Talking, moving Mikey. Yeah, during travel stages, which is your overworld, like RPGs part, you can't use weapons. And here's basically what it looks like. It's like a top-down view. You go through, move on a grid. There's these jumps up here, if you see right here. You jump and you move, and you can jump on from block to block just by, you know, jumping off of them. So I don't think, yeah, you just, and you'll jump in one direction. You can't control your jump in the air. Once you move left and jump, you'll jump to that platform. Inventory list. So you got certain special items, like you got a snowman with freezes. You got like a baseball bat that hits in a circular pattern. You got like a star shot that shoots and then shoots left and right. And they're very situational. But once you use them in the level, you can't take them to the next stage. So there's dungeons in the game too, which is where the majority of the fighting takes place. Once you get past the overworld, there's like these dungeons you go into, and there's a boss at the end. It's almost like a Zelda dungeon. There's items in them that you can't carry over to the next level, though. Once you beat the dungeon, you lose them. So you use them or you lose them. And so you have unlimited lives. But once you start a dungeon, you have to finish it, or you go back to the beginning of that dungeon and have to redo it. And that can set you back a little bit, but it's never too tedious until, I would say, that the difficulty is fairly well paced. There's a part in the graveyard part where you have to look for these hidden passages that you can walk through, and the tales of them, I don't know how well they were showing on my capture or my CRT, but you got to really look for a different shading in the wall, and it's not obvious. You got to really scrutinize it, and I don't know how that looks on, say, the Switch service. If they did something to make that stand out, that can be a little hard to figure out where to go. Like I said, there's some platforms you jump off from one screen to another, and you can kind of jump into the water and die, and that's kind of bad. But it's very unique, great music. It starts to get very hard around the spaceship level. It really picks up the difficulty. It has a gradual increase in difficulty, unlike like Kid Icarus or a lot of NES games that start out brutally hard and get easy. This game has a gradual difficulty with a little spike in the middle, and then it spikes pretty big near the end. Nothing you can't get through if you don't like the game. But it does get harder. So here's your weapons: an island yo-yo, a shooting star you upgraded to, and a supernova. And if you lose life, the shooting star will shoot like projectiles. If you lose life, it'll stop doing that. Almost like Blaster Master, you stop doing that, shooting your projectile if you get hit. These are situational weapons you get in dungeons, like the baseball bat, the bola. It's like a twisty thing that ties, you see in movies, they tie people around the legs with when they throw it. Wonder Ball, I don't remember the Wonder Ball. The fire and the slingshot. There was like shoes too that you did like a jump kick. Yeah, spike shoes. Miracle Mirror makes you see like ghosts, I believe. Health items. Collect 5 of these to store health, and big health increase Mikey's max capacity, and these are hidden in dungeon 2, which restore your 5 energy marks. And you can grab stuff with your yo-yo hearts and stuff. More items: the snowman that freezes enemies, lantern, rod of sight. Oh, the rod of sight lets you see ghosts, sorry. And this is only really used in one part. Vitamin X will fill your health fully. Some enemies, they peace out. The bosses. First area, you have this octopus boss. Second, you have this magnifier. You have this, one of the, I think this is the second one, you have the magnifier guy. But they don't list all the bosses, but some of them. Southern Cross. Just a little bit of story here. Mikey. Very cool game. And so you see in here they say, please read the letter from Dr. Jones appended to this booklet. So the game came with this letter. And when I played through this earlier on my playthrough, I have where I soak this in water. and you can watch that. I think it's on my channel. And it reveals, when you dip this in water, it will reveal the code to the sub that you need to progress to the next part of the game. So if you don't have this letter, you can't progress through the game. Now, Virtual Console services have packaged something in, like a e-console, an e-PDF or something with it, so it gave you that. But when you rent this game, if you didn't have this letter, you just couldn't go through it. Which is kind of interesting, which is kind of weird and bad if you got to this part, because it's fairly early that you need this letter, maybe the third chapter, I think. So it's feasible in a rental you could get that far. But yeah, you put water in here and it'll reveal, I think 737 is the code, and you enter that in the sub with Rob the Robot, and you can progress to the next chapter. Maybe I'll put an addendum to the video to this where I can dip this in water and show you. It'd be kind of cool to do, but I don't have any water with me right now. That's StarTropics. Very good game. If you want something that is a little easier, a time-traveling story, that's StarTropics 2, Zoda's Revenge. I played through this again recently, I think early last year, late last year, or early this year. The second time playthrough, very late NES game. So it's basically like the first StarTropics, only I don't find it as graphically interesting. It's still good looking, but there's a lot of like plain barren areas. You do time travel through this world. You have to get tetrads, which are Tetris pieces, and put them together and to stop Zoda from getting them or something like that. I don't quite remember. So they changed, the main thing with this game is they changed the movement of the game. No longer do you have to move left and then you turn left and then you hit it again to move. You can move diagonally, up, down, left, right. You have control of your jump in the air when you jump. That's good if you didn't like the first StarTropics movement. You're much more agile around creatures this time, which is a plus. Some of the jumping's more difficult because when you have control of your jump in the air, you can misline your jumps and move too far to the left in the air and miss it completely. Where in the first one, StarTropics, if you jumped to a platform, you were guaranteed to make it. So it's less forgiving in that part. The worst part about this game is there's no really any blinking time or invulnerability frames. So once you hit an enemy, if you stand on an enemy, he will continue to give you damage, and you can die pretty quickly if you're in a corner and can't get away. That's happened to me quite a bit. So you don't have the yo-yo anymore. I think you start off with like an axe. You go to prehistoric times first, you get an axe, and each level you time travel through time. You time travel, and in each age, maybe you go to medieval area, you get a different weapon, and you have to meet a figure there, historical figure, and find the tetrad and chase Zoma around. Or Zoda, sorry. Zoma's is Dragon Quest 3. Sorry, I just played that. So you time travel through time, and you do things like you go to Egypt to get a pizza delivery for Cleopatra. Still get the heart pieces. It's basically like StarTropics, only a little bigger story emphasis on like time travel, but nothing huge. And they fixed the controls. It is a lot easier. It sounds really good. The music's great. The graphics are good. If you like StarTropics, I think this one is pretty good too. There's things I like about this game more, but the nostalgic of StarTropics, the first one, is very cool. I don't know if the second one is on the Switch eShop, Switch console, Switch service. I think it might be just the first one, but this is a cheap game. If you have an NES, you can find this complete. Well, I shouldn't say that now that everything's more expensive, but at least the cart's probably cheap to get. Yeah, the two StarTropics games. I would love for the StarTropics series to come back, or at least put them out for Japan to play. Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight. This game is, when you first play it, it seems impossible. But the more you play it, the more you learn the moves. There's like this backflip that you can, I think they even show him doing it there. Nope, he's just doing it from shit. The backflip, you're invulnerable when you do it, and you have to kind of, I played through the whole game not really utilizing it, and when I replayed it, the backflip makes the game so much easier. But they don't really tell you that. You have to read the manual, I believe. So basically this game is a how can I describe this? It's a go to a screen, get all the MacGuffins you got to get to open the portal to go to the next screen. You're kind of leaping through this time to find your target, which is the enemy at the end you got to beat. And you kind of leap through time. And as you open these portals, there's certain portals that are just like levels, or I'm going to say portals, but you go to a level where it's just like power-ups and you power yourself up. If you can keep yourself powered up, your distance of your weapon, your projectile goes farther, and you can make the game easier for you. My first time playing through, I didn't know a lot of these tricks. I was just learning. And I was able to get through. You have unlimited continues. You have a jump, and you can climb walls. You can also fire off of walls. You can shoot in a lot of directions, up, down, left, right. And if you kick, you can also do a kick, and you can project projectiles from your kicks. And you can do like, I think it's like jump and then hit back, and you'll do a backflip, and you're invulnerable, like I said. It's a lot of avoiding enemies and using the right kick or punch weapon to hit them. There's some auto-scroller sections, figure out which way to go the best and fastest. And you got to kind of know which ability to kill enemies the fastest with. I quite enjoyed this game. I don't think it's a bad game at all. It's just a big steep learning curve. That I think the manual helps out if you read it. I did not, so I had to just pick it up and learn the stuff by myself. And then I read the manual after halfway through. I do like this game. It's quite... The last stage is like a timed rush where you fight some bosses, so you have to constantly be rushing and trying to get to the end and fight the final boss. It almost looks like a Ninja Gaiden boss with this big floating head. I almost think of Jackie O's head in that one cutscene in Ninja Gaiden. He looks like a spider guy almost. I don't know if you remember that, but it almost looks like that. And really good music too. The music in this game is great. I do like this game. I think it's not without its faults like a lot of games, but I do enjoy this game. I'd like to replay it again too. Yeah, Street Fighter 2010. The final fight. Okay, this is the last section I have to do. I'll try to talk about this. Maybe I can get one more before because this was mostly about 3 games. Go on. This is almost 30 minutes. I'm trying to keep these to 30 minutes. Strider on NES. This is probably my second favorite Strider game after the 2015 one, released by Arc System Works. My cousin had this game. I think I played it and never knew what to do. But a few years ago I read the manual, maybe 2017 I beat it. I read the manual, learned how to play it. And at first when you play it, you don't know where to go, because you go in a level, you get to the end, and you're like, well, what do I do now? And you get a key, and the key lets you go to other doors in areas. So it's almost like Metroid exploration. You get a key to go to other areas, and you meet somebody there. He gives you a disc, and you don't know what to do. What you have to do is go back to the beginning of the level and go back to your ship. And from there, you can go to the next level. And it opens up into a few levels. Go to Egypt, Kazakhstan, your main ship, which is like this thing in the sky. And yeah, you go to the levels, get more discs to open other levels. Get abilities like being able to throw, like hold up and charge your katana and throw it, like an arc blade out of it. You get some boots. You get you have a triangle jump, which is very hard to, it's basically a wall jump, very hard to pull off, because you got to jump at the wall and jump again, and it's very tricky to pull off. The music in this game is great. It's very, very glitchy. Out of all this is a very glitchy game that you'll just fall through platforms, or you'll clip through something, or you're caught on a corner. Your hits don't always register. But despite all that, despite all its problems, I do like this game. I like it more than the Genesis Strider, honestly. Genesis Strider's fine, but there's something about this one. It could be because I played it growing up, and I finally beat it and learned it. Even learning this game, it's so glitchy that you will take most of your time is struggling against sometimes well, not struggling, but sometimes things will happen where you hit an enemy and it doesn't register, or you jump on a platform and you fall through, or you clip on the edge and you get stuck. But once you kind of wrap your head around it, you get like some magic spells. You can heal yourself, I believe. You get all different items. Once you get a little bit accustomed to the loop it wants you to do, and if you can deal with the glitchiness and the controls for the angle jumping, there's a lot of good ideas for this one. It's based on a manga, I think, in Japan, but I don't think this was released in Japan at all. I think we were the only ones who got it in North America. I could be confused. I'm not sure. Somebody can tell me if it was or not released in Japan, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's a decent game. I do like Strider. And that's it. So I'm sorry I talked too much about... Well, I talked the amount I wanted to about these games. So I wanted to cut it off here or I'll be going too long. I want to keep these at 30 minutes. I didn't want to rush these because these are games that I have beaten I like. So I want to talk about them more of each game. And there's some ones coming up that I do have more to say about. And if I go on now, it'll be an hour or so. And I don't want to do that. But we are getting to the end. So we'll have about probably 2 or 3 videos left for these ones. I apologize if that's too long, but, what are you going to do? So take care. Thanks for watching. And, yeah, try out StarTropics if you get a chance. Or Solstice if you want a nice adventure puzzle platformer. Take care. Bye.